And now, Legal Perspective with Nick Clekis.
Renting is a way of life for more than a third of households across the country, making the relationship between landlords and tenants an important one. Here to share some legal expertise is Nick Clekis, owner of Clekis Law Firm. Nick, always a pleasure.
Hey, Joe.
When we're talking about landlord, tenant, renting, what are the most common legal issues that arise in this relationship?
Well, it's always something, right? But for the landlord, it's usually non-payment of rent by the tenant. For the tenant, it's usually condition of the premises. When are you going to fix this? When is this going to be repaired?
Okay. What are the obligations that are the renter's responsibility and the landlord's responsibility?
Yeah, so all of that is spelled out in the South Carolina Residential Landlord Tenant Act, and anybody can Google and it will come up and it will show that in the statute. Landlord has to provide essential services, plumbing, electric, heat, all of that stuff, and the tenant has to do the right thing. Keep the place clean, don't harbor criminal activity, flammable products, things like that.
What if, are there certain things that are negotiable? Like, let's say I'm renting somewhere and they expect me to take care of my lawn. Is that something that I can negotiate, or is that typically my responsibility?
Well, I mean, a lot of places are, multifamily housing or apartments, and all that's taken care of by the grounds people. But if you're renting a single family residence, then that is negotiable between you and the landlord, who's going to do the grass and the landscaping and stuff like that.
And something that happens a little more frequently than it probably should is, let's say, someone's lease is up and they are still staying in the apartment, or they don't sign a new lease and they're still there. I mean, what does that look like?
So I have clients call me all the time, and when I was a judge, it used to be a big issue. People come in and say, well, he never signed the lease, or the landlord would say the tenant never signed the lease. So long as you're living under the rules of the lease applies. So if I'm the landlord and I sign a lease and give it to you and you never sign it, but you live there and pay rent, you're bound by the terms. Or if you sign the lease and give it back to me as a landlord and I don't sign it, you're still bound by the terms, and so am I. If the lease ends after a year or whatever it is and you still stay there, then you become a month-to-month tenant and you're there. 30 days notice you can give me to get out, or 30 days notice I can give you to get out, or you could stay there for years under that lease.
That's very interesting, because I would assume that some people who may have not signed the lease, they think that's kind of their out, their safe haven.
That's
but
right.
Regardless whether you sign it or not, you still are living under the rules of the lease if you're there, right?
Correct.
Okay, another big thing is the security deposit. So when do I get it back? Do I get the whole thing back? How is that figured out?
Yeah, so security deposit's an interesting thing. So upon vacating the premises, you have to provide a forwarding address and the keys to the property to the landlord so he knows where to send it. And within 30 days, he has to send you the security deposit or an itemization as to why he made deductions. And they got to be real. They can't be, just wear and tear. I mean, you leave the place in a broom swept condition, and he's got to show that there's actual damages that he can deduct the security deposit.
With the security deposit, I feel like it could be kind of a he said, she said kind of situation. In that situation, if the landlord is saying one thing, the tenant's saying another, is the landlord typically the one that will be, I guess, listened to or
prevail? I would encourage any tenant moving into a place to take pictures upon moving in and pictures upon moving out.
Yeah.
So to avoid that, so that you could say, look, this is the condition it was.
Yeah.
Because the landlord's probably going to do that. And if the landlord does not return the security deposit or an itemization as to why he didn't return it within 30 days, you can then sue him for 3 times the security deposit amount plus attorney's fees and costs.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if you got a $1,500 security deposit and he doesn't return it, you're entitled to $4,500 plus attorney's fees.
So day 29.
Day 29.
Day 29.
You know who to call.
Clekis, Nick Clekis, 8439 million,
Yes.
Clekis.com. Nick, always a pleasure, and we can't
Thanks.
wait to have you back next Tuesday.
Thanks.
We're back in 2 minutes.
This has been Legal Perspective with Nick Clekis.